Thank you so much for sharing your lunchtime with me. It is Black History Month 2026. 2026. And it's February 4th, 2026, to be a little bit more exact, at exactly 12 noon, starting right on time at the peak of the day. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for just sharing these moments with me. I am JB Bryan, President and Chief Investment Officer of JB Bryan Financial Group, a registered investment advisory firm and the home of AfroEconomics. Every time I say that, I always feel like I should have the book in my hand. AfroEconomics. Make sure you go to the website I have up behind me, click on the bookstore, and order your books. You know what? I didn't even think about that. I don't think about what I should be thinking about. Thinking about that great Black History Month gift to share. I don't even know if we give gifts, Black History Month gifts, but that's a great gift idea. And just let me know when you go into the bookstore. It will let me know. And if it doesn't let me know that you got your book, and email me at jb@jbbryan.com. Because I'm going to tell you, sometimes my email and Outlook and all this stuff, all these different forms of communication, technology is very helpful. Not complaining. It's very helpful when it helps. But it's like you have one more thing to check behind, because you have to check behind to make sure that the technology did what it was supposed to do. So it actually adds to our task, because we have to make sure, especially if it's very important. Don't just send an email and think that it got to where it was supposed to get to. Assuming is a bad thing to do. So if it's important to you, make sure that you get to the other end and say, did you get that email? Did you get that information? Did you get that? Because there's a lot of important stuff that we're just kind of sending out, and we don't think we have to figure out how to do that. You can do like certified mail and make sure the person signs off and stuff like that. But how do we make sure that that happens with email? Because sometimes you can say, confirm that this email was received, but the person still did not get it. It can say that they opened it, but it didn't open it. Like my email service, it tells me if you opened your mail, but sometimes it still didn't get open and it went into the spam mail and the client did not get it. So technology can be great when it works great for us, but when it doesn't, and if it's important, make sure you check on that. That's applicable to somebody. Every time I say something that is important, I realize that it's not really just for me, it's for you too. Somebody out there needs to remember, like, do you send somebody something and you're thinking that they got it? Check behind it. Check behind it. So our Black history topic, I'm going to share something with you. I'm going to share. I'll send an invite. Anybody that wants to come in, I don't know. I was like hitting that by mistake. But yeah, for sure. Or make sure. And I'll put it up again. But let's make sure you can see this. I'm going to come back out. See if you can see what I can see. You see that? Do you see what I'm seeing? But you can't really see it. I will read it to you. I will go back over there and see if I can make it bigger. And I will actually read it to you about Mansa Musa, our topic today. What if I hit this, maximize, see what happens? Break, it takes me out. Theo, don't you feel lost without me? So we'll do it. I'll do this. I will go to this. Yeah, okay. I can see it. Let me see if I can make it. I think that made it bigger for you. Let me check on you. It didn't even make it bigger for you. Let me do this. but it's huge over here. I'm gonna read it to you. Mansa Musa, and this is from a Black History page. It's called Black History Studies, October 25th, 2021. It's a Facebook page. And he says Mansa Musa I of Mali is the richest human being in history. Doesn't even say was. It says is the richest human being in history with a personal net worth of $400 billion. Mansa Musa life was from 1280 to 1337 and ruled the Malian Empire, which covered modern Ghana, Timbuktu, and Mali in West Africa. Mansa Musa's shocking wealth came from the country's vast production of more than half of the world's supply of salt, half of the world's supply of salt and gold at that time. Musa, because I think the family name is Mansa. His brother was older than him, but I'm going off script because I'm gonna go back to what this site says. Musa used, so yeah, because I think I don't know. Musa used his wealth to build immense mosques that still stand today. Mosques that still stand today, nearly 700 years later. His kingdom and wealth didn't last much longer after his death. His heirs were not able to fend off civil war and invading conquerors. Just 2 generations later, his world record net worth was gone. 2 generations later. That's not even amazing to me. You see it small. Come on in studio, Ms. Deloach. It's not even amazing to me that 2 generations later, the wealth was gone, because that's about statistically true now. Yes, if you pass on your wealth, typically by 2 generations later, that money is gone. If it goes that far. Isn't that something? That challenge then is still a challenge today. But I went even farther in there to look at the Mansa Musa times. And I was trying to find out, like, how exactly can they say that it was worth $400 billion? Until I finally found, like a documentary that was more economically based, like the way I think, because I'm always thinking, like, where'd you get those numbers from? Based on what, right? It actually could be more than $400 billion. It is impossible to compare that to today's dollars. It could be trillions. It could be trillions, and we don't even really know it. And what proper adjustments did they make in with inflation and stuff? We're talking about 1200. So we also have to think about, I always like when I look at someone's wealth, and we're looking at it like, this is repeatedly said that Mansa Musa was the wealthiest person ever. Like, that is just said, Ms. Davis. That don't come in here like acting all crazy because Mansa Musa don't play. Let me put you over here. I'm gonna put her like that. I'm gonna put you down there because I know how you are, and you're gonna be going in and out and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna put in here. Have you ever heard of Mansa Musa?
No, I have not. I did kind of look him up late last night, and
That's what I shouldn't have given y'all the topic. I shouldn't
yeah.
have given y'all nothing.
Well,
In
because
fact, I should have said, "Who is the richest man ever lived?" You know what I'm saying? Give you no. I said to myself, I know you. I knew you, Mr. Barber, and Ms. Deloach. Ms. Deloach probably had already heard about him, but and she's always studying Africa. And he did it. He did a Hajj trip. How did you see that in your studies? We were talking about where he was Muslim. He studied
Yes,
Islam,
I
and
did see something about that. I
he
did.
did. The reason that we know his name and we know about him being so rich is that when he did Hajj, when he traveled from Ghana, or where we now think of as Ghana, let's say Mali, though he's known for back then, like we say, when he traveled, and he traveled all the way to do Hajj um, for his religion. And along the way, all his slaves, I found record that he had about, guess how many slaves?
Weren't there were like
Just guess, just
thousands of
just guess,
them?
just I
Yeah, I
know,
don't
like
know what thousands. I
12,
remember. I think,
12,000.
yeah, there were lots
So
of them.
so if we believe that he was worth 400 billion, then we have to believe the 12,000 slaves, right?
Hmm.
So he was young though. He was in his 40s from what they know when he went to Hajj, to basically, it's a time of like repentance, to be forgiven for everything. So why not take your slaves with you, right? See, I'm not even, well, I'm not, that is not even funny. look, look, he didn't free them either. He just said, y'all gonna carry this gold. And it said that like each of them was carrying about 4 pounds of gold. Like that, my shot put that I throw was about 6 pounds. So I said, I guess that's not that bad. But I don't know if I want to carry it, all them miles. It took them a year to get there and come back a year. Like that was a long trip. You know, are they, and I wondered, like, they were probably carrying him, and he was like on the camel. They had like 100 camels and 12,000 slaves, and everything was covered with gold. And they said it was like, I guess it was like the Buddhist monk thing, huh?
Probably.
But the opposite, because the monks are like all modest, and
Hmm.
no,
Well,
they
see,
got to pick their game up, because if
and
they want to be like Mansa Musa, they gotta have some goods with them.
I'm pretty sure they probably couldn't, rebel or any of that kind of stuff. And if they were carrying gold, that they were
Oh,
probably
that would
watched.
slow them. That you're saying it would slow them down.
It would probably have
Yeah,
slowed them down, but they were.
and they probably studied the same religion. So you're going to Hajj as well. Like you're getting an opportunity of a lifetime. They can look at it that way as well. It's all expense paid slave trip.
Oh, yeah, but you're still a slave.
So it's like,
Dress it
but
up how you want.
but you ain't gotta pay for it exactly. They got bro was like, look, I'm covering you.
Yeah,
Let's
and see,
go.
you
So
carrying gold now. That's a precious commodity still. It was one back then, it
yeah,
still is now. So
yeah,
I'm
and
pretty
they
sure they were watched and guarded, and
yeah.
probably had guards to guard the slaves. Is
Yeah,
my
they
thinking.
had to. They had to. He had to. And but during his time, I guess that's what makes him so amazing, is that because so much back then was based on kinship, he came from this family of loyalty. And that's why I tell people all the time, like, we don't come from that. So when people say, oh, we got a dictatorship and it's going to take over and this and that is like zero concern, because our system is not designed to let that happen. I don't care. Somebody can say whatever they say that you don't like and this and that. They are not going to ever be able to do that in the current system in which we live in. There's just too many other people involved. We have political parties and everything. But during the time of Mansa Musa, there was no other political party. He controlled all the gold. He controlled all the salt. He controlled the taxation on commerce that happened in there. So everything was coming into his family. And that's how, you get mega, mega rich. But I feel that, and according to the study, it says that there's still descendants of Mansa Musa who are respected to this day. And but think about this. Think about this. 700 buildings of worship he built. I feel like that is probably one of his biggest accomplishments, to use your wealth. Like I think that he's still remembered now because of those that, well, the slaves built that during that time. Like the because of course he didn't get out and build those buildings, but he financed it. But it's hard. It's hard. I think it's just kind of hard for us to, we have to be careful. Like Ms. Deloach told us the other day when we were doing a discussion about, the movement, the civil rights movement, we have to remember the time that they were
Mhm.
in. But if we do that for our leaders, we also have to do that for people that aren't Black. No, as I was doing a study on like how many people in Congress actually had slaves in, during that time of slavery. And they have on record that information. And the overwhelming majority of the people that had slaves were from the Democrat Party. There were very
Mhm.
few Republicans that had slaves. So it's like we are able to forgive that because look, the overwhelming majority of Black people are in the Democrat Party. I'm not in a party, so so that I can serve you better. I'm not, the Afroeconomics is not about that, just about facts. But when we look at Mansa Musa, if we can be in a party now that came and was built on our back, then we can, respect that Mansa Musa had slaves. You think you, Mr. Brown, right? Because, and in many ways, I could argue from an economic perspective, we have modern slavery now. I feel that having a system that depends so much on undocumented people is definitely a form of modern day slavery because corporations benefit the most from the undocumented. Who else benefits as far as becoming a billionaire is but rich folk?
True.
And that's something that people never think about that. And it was interesting at the Grammys that the Grammys never addressed the fact that corporate America could help all these undocumented people get proper paperwork. They're the ones that benefit from keeping wages low. The more undocumented you have, the lower wages are. And the people that today carry the burden of it, just like in the times of Mansa Musa, the Black community carries the burden of a large undocumented citizen, large undocumented workplace. Because unfortunately, too often we're not hired unless they have to. So corporate America is about becoming Mansa Musa. They want to be in control. They want to have less taxes. They want to have a lower payroll. They want to have so Mansa Musa became the richest man in the world at that time, mostly because he had control over the labor. You got the control over the labor. Do you know how hard it was to just get to salt, Rosa Cherry? And that's something. Do you know that how hard that was for them? Like now we just go and pick up a thing of salt, but he was in control of most of the salt, most of the gold. The salt was just as valuable as the gold, maybe even more. But in this summer, we think about the gold because the gold has value, today. But it depends, like, salt is an essential, it's essential. Look at all the processed foods that we have, and all of a sudden, if sodium was like out,
Ooh.
they go crazy. Those companies would go crazy. Whoever had the salt would make a lot of money.
Yep. I would have a problem. You mean to
You
tell
know,
me
and
I
if
gotta
we,
have potato chips with no salt? Uh-uh.
I know,
I'm
right?
sorry.
And if we looked
That's a
at
problem.
today, if we looked at today's billionaires, if you Google the richest black people in the world, the richest black person in the world is still in Africa. And that's something I think he does cement, because cement company, something like that. But it comes to, in many countries, it comes to the amount of control that that person can get. Do you look at the numbers that they give us on politicians that get voted into office? They had no money. Within a year in office, they're a multimillionaire.
Hmm.
That's amazing. That shows you how powerful power is. The small, speaking of business, the Small Business Administration just shut down over 1,000 8A Small Business Administration contractors because they did not provide the financial paperwork that they needed to have on file. And I was telling someone the other day, I was like, we have like, and it's like you all, when you don't have to answer to the government, you take it for granted. But I'm licensed. I'm licensed. So I answer to the federal government and to the state, because they make me make sure I take care of you. They don't play when it comes to people's money. That is amazing to me that the SBA has been like that, just letting it slide. So they have these people who are getting these privileges for being disadvantaged businesses. And then they give up their control to other entities. So they're working as a disadvantaged front. So they think the contract is really going to a Native American business, but it's not. It's really just a front. They think it's really, going. But it's amazing to me, the definition of disadvantaged. You can have like millions of dollars of assets and still considered disadvantaged.
Mhm.
I was like, that is great. It said bringing it to today's time, an 8A firm certified by the Small Business Administration. The firm must be 51% controlled by a U.S. citizen who is socially and economically disadvantaged. And then an economic disadvantage means a net worth of less than $850,000. That's a lot of money. An adjusted income of less than 400. So they can make 390,000 in income and be considered disadvantaged. But guess what the asset total is? They can have assets up to 6.5 million. Now they know Now they know, according to what they keep telling us, that the average person can't even come up with $1,000. So who is getting these? Who is getting this? By someone that's very well connected. You know the difference between a person who has $1,000 versus a person who has, 6.5, 6.4. They're right at the edge, but 6.4. Oh, wow, you're so disadvantaged. We'll take you. Where did they come out with that number? And I bet if they published that the Trump administration has lowered those numbers, unfortunately, people in our community would get upset about it. That is a huge misuse of what disadvantaged is. Even my room got mad. I could stuff over. Do I want to help people or what? No, we just want to help rich people. That's basically what that says. We're just going to keep it in here. So if they can prove that they have under the $6.5 million in assets, and somehow that makes them disadvantaged, then they can get into this government contract and not even face competition. And all they had to do was show their financials for the last 3 years, and they'd still be floating right through. Over 1,000, which was 25%. 25% of them could not provide their paperwork. So they inactivated their contract and they showed them grace. So all they have to do is contact them and do it. So all they do, they still can do it. They just go back and, do it. It's amazing that we don't see, as an average person, there is absolutely no way that we should think that we will ever accumulate the wealth of Mansa Musa or half of these people that they call disadvantaged. You know what I mean? That's $6 million. Like, that that it is absolute. Unless you run for Congress, your chances are much greater. Going to work, investing with me, saving 20% of your money is not going to get you there within a year. But going to Congress will. Isn't that something? And I'm not saying that this is a white person going to Congress. I'm talking about Black people going to Congress, doubling their net worth within a year, and they're not suspicious. And spouses. And that's why a lot of them have like separate names. Their spouse will have a different name. They won't have the same last name. So then the spouse, this one lady in Congress, her spouse spent 10 years in jail. He got out and they hired him in the government office where she worked. That's a beautiful thing. And they put him over a huge contract for doing something he's never had done in his whole life. That's his project management. You know how many people go to college, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that? And his business went from worth nothing to worth over $1 million with her just 1 year in Congress. In a year. That's amazing. That's keeping it in the family. Look, that's today's form of kinship. As I was saying, back then, they were doing, everything was based on kinship. And if you were in that family, then it would just pass on and pass on and pass on. But after Mansa Musa, the discipline wasn't there. And things changed. They stopped having to go through his roads. And the Europeans started doing business using big boats and pulling the big boats up to Africa. So you didn't have to go through Mansa Musa anymore to do things. And then they started, selling the slaves. And it became big business of selling the Africans to the European boats that were coming up. That might have, become like a major form of business back then. And it slowed down the interest and just having this gold and this salt, could do different things. Like, wow, we could sell people. We got a whole bunch of them. It must have looked unlimited.
I'm sure it went way past salt and gold. It had to be more than just that. Those commodities had to be far greater than just those two things.
That
And
was his main business.
mhm.
But
You
then
know,
when the boats started coming in, the Europeans started coming in,
right,
they're saying that it started changing. Yeah. And
exactly.
it started, yes. And the whole business and slavery became a major form of business, selling the people.
I do wonder uh, approximately how many wives do you suspect he had with
Oh,
all
yeah,
of that?
a lot. He took them with them on the trip. Yeah, it says he took the women with them too. Let's see. Yeah, it's the Mansa Musa. Oh, good for him. He had just 4 wives, just and the most prominent spouse, her name was Anura Kanti. Anura Kanti accompanied him on Hajj, bringing a large entourage of 500 handmaidens. So they were just handmaidens. Isn't that something? They could just be concubines. Because remember, like the other man in the Bible, he had like 400 and something concubines, but Islam will only allow him to have 4 wives. So, but these handmaidens could take care of the extra. And that's interesting that it notes that she brought 500 handmaids. You're like, but don't be thinking he would just messing with the 4 wives. This man needed help. As a wealthy 14th century West African ruler, it was common to have multiple spouses and children to maintain power and support. Yeah, but multiple sources note that he had at least 4.
Do you think, or did it say in there? Because I didn't see this. Okay, this was his net worth, and he had all
But
these.
it's a bad estimate, but that,
Yeah,
let's just say he was very, very rich. Yeah.
yeah. Do you think all of this he kept to himself for the most part, or do you suspect he had like people underneath him that were maybe not nearly as rich as him, but some of the wealth was shared? Like they did own some of the gold, maybe they did own some of
No.
the salt, maybe they could make their
No.
own decisions about their own assets. You think that?
His generosity was done through Islam by building those 700 temples. And also, he went to Timbuktu and basically built up learning institutions. And that's
Okay.
a beautiful thing about Islam. It really focuses on a lot on learning, teaching, education. And he really was into that. Like I think Timbuktu to this day is known for being a learning place. Like a lot of that is attributed to him. So that was his biggest contribution back, like
Mhm.
building institutions that went way far behind those 2 generations. Like today, I bet there's stuff in Timbuktu that that go way back, especially the mosques, because he built
Um,
700 of them. So when that was a big turning point in his life, and he was so generous that it's written that when he went through Cairo, he impacted their economy because he gave away so much gold. Did they talk about that when you went to Egypt? They didn't. Did they talk about that?
Yes, they did.
Are you
They
serious?
did.
Yeah. It said he gave away so much gold that it took years for them to recover, like, for their own currency to become important again. Isn't that something? Like, yeah, he was probably like, look, I ain't going back home with all of this. I got more at home. I just like, y'all want this. Oh wow, these Egyptians love this. Let's give it to them. And they probably built those Egyptians use gold a lot just for painting and for stuff like they would just build stuff with gold, make a chair with gold, right? Like stuff that is you imagine the abundance of like having stools and footstools and had things on your head, that are just going. I guess like we have like earrings, you know what I'm saying? But we're not using it like that, like to make our furniture. But we don't look at it as that, as like having it that abundant. But like yeah, because it melts down and everything. You can do anything with it.
Our guide told us, he said, just imagine if you were a tourist and you were giving everybody like $1,000 for doing, it would
Yeah,
change your economy because now these poor people have got a lot of, everybody's got money.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, 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 and everybody doesn't know how to act when they have money. So some of them probably like I ain't got to work for a while. They wouldn't even go back to work, or or they bought their freedom. Because a lot of them were like indentured servants. They might have been indebted to something. I probably went up to him and said, brother, can you help me? I need to get my child out of slavery or something like that. My
mhm.
husband's in slavery or something. Yeah, like I get that kind of feeling from him that he was just, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of person.
Perfect.
That's what those monks should have done. Brought us some gold. I bet I would have. I'd be like, where are they stopping next? I'm coming to meet these monks. They got some gold. You
They're
imagine?
in they're somewhere in Virginia. They did come through Richmond. I thought
Yeah,
I would have seen you out there marching with them, but
but they
I
ain't
looked
had
for
no gold. They had no
oh.
gold. They need to get some lessons from Mansa Musa. Bring me some. Break this economy up. Yes. But if I won the lottery yesterday for like $10 million, I would still be doing this today. But most people wouldn't. They're like, I gotta go take a break. Like Mr. Loach said. So if a lot of times when people get something, they get a windfall. Yeah, it's gonna disturb the way things are run. It wouldn't with me. I don't think so. Let's just, God, let it happen. We'll see. Exactly. Exactly. It's like, yeah, let her. I will. You got to play first. And then I've been thinking about you and Weta a lot, thinking about power. Like with all of that going on, Fulton County is like really getting a lot of attention.
It always has, though. This is just a drop in the bucket. It's something going on in this county all of the time.
Wow. And I never knew. It said that Fulton County, like y'all are the biggest voting county in the state. You know?
Mm, maybe because we are probably larger than any other county,
Yeah.
mass wise and population wise. And I think next to that is the one I live in is DeKalb or either Gwinnett. These counties all touch Fulton. We're
Yep.
just right next to it,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that, yeah, you're right. There's you know what I mean? And that to me, I hope that you all will be able to get some sort of leadership that will realize that these people deserve to not be on the news all the time.
I
Y'all don't
don't
need.
know when that's going to be.
I
I
know.
don't see that in my lifetime.
That's
I've
sad.
never seen it. Mm-mm.
Wow. That sounds
It is
that's sad.
constantly stuff going on, whether it's, big, small, little, in between.
Well, how about in Stone Mountain over the weekend, that cop getting shot? in the hotel.
Yeah,
That was terrible.
they're having, I think his funeral is set for Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. And usually, I don't know if it's like this where you are, but whenever they have those kinds of police killings, they have police coming from every jurisdiction within Georgia.
Good.
So on Saturday, you probably want to go ahead. If you got to go to work, of course, go. But if you got to go, um, if you got to go to the airport, go ahead and do that. But you
Mm,
might want to just stay off the expressway. Just stay off
mm,
the streets. You will see
mm.
police everywhere.
But you could tell that those cops trusted that man.
They
It's
did.
not, he must be a grown man. And they just went on into the hotel room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I would have said, look, you gotta step out. Like that, I don't think we all realize how much risk they're under every day.
Every
Like,
day. Yeah.
whoa, that's
So yeah,
horrible. He was only 24 years old.
and I think been on the force like what 2 years or less.
Yeah, he just moved there he's like from another country.
Yep.
He's from Nepal or something like,
Hmm.
wow. Isn't that crazy how I be keeping up with y'all news? Now, if I did not know you, I promise you, I would not keep up. It is because I feel connected to you. And when they say Fulton County or Stone Mountain or something like that, I go, oh, that's Miss Davis. Oh, that's Miss Davis. And that's
Yeah. You please
yeah,
check. Just make sure. I don't mean to be mean or anything. Make sure it's not me.
exactly. Exactly. That's what it is. I'm making sure it's not you. Hey man, girl, because I'd be on that airplane. I'd probably try to run. I'd be with the monks. They'd be like, I'd be running past them. They'd be like, where's she going? I was like, I gotta check on my girl. I don't know what's going on down there.
Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
We keep
Hey,
it
like,
going. We
yes.
keep it
Oh my
going.
goodness. But they yeah, I think I'm gonna give y'all some key, every day when we're when I was leaving the TV station on Monday, I don't know if I haven't sent out to you all. I don't know if everybody got to see the interview about taxes increases in Virginia. But I was leaving and they were asking me about Black History Month and what Black History Month means to me. A reporter was like, "Could you give us a few words?" So I'm gonna see if I can get that. But they're supposed to play live on Sunday a couple of times. So I'm like, I wonder if I'm gonna have to sit there with my phone and look at the TV and record myself. So how you doing, Miss Hamilton? But it was like, yeah, and it made me think, and then that's how this topic came up. I was like, I like talking about the history of Black wealth. I like talking about how did people become rich? Like, how did this happen?
Hmm.
Yeah. The yeah, I think like you see Mr. Robinson said, I think that we like to think that slavery is different. There is no better slavery or worse slavery. Slavery is slavery. And everything that happened to our ancestors that we know about, we can imagine that it happened in Africa as well, and possibly worse, if there is possible. I don't even see how anything could be worse. I don't see how anything could be better. To be enslaved, there is no less horrific. And you know what I mean? An indentured servant is not a slave. So an indentured servant, which we had in the US as well, they were just working and buying their land while they were working that land. And they were going to get some of that land. Like, that's not slavery. So if there was someone who was in a debtor's prison in Africa or something and they were paying, but they're straight up say he had straight up slaves that in the thousands. And that's how, the work got done. It's how the work got done. Indeed. But I believe that there are things that we're doing today that down the road we're going to discover are horrific. But because it is socially acceptable, Nobody was judging him when he had all those slaves. They saw that as one of the signs that this man is the man. It was like, it was a badge of honor. But I think that culturally, we have to realize that there are things that we do because it's allowed that we will probably have to repent for at some point if we live long enough, because we did not know it was wrong. We didn't know. Because if they had slaves today, just like there's people who instead of taking an undocumented person and getting them their documents and helping them get their things together, they use them and pay them a fraction of what they're supposed to be paid, and don't give them any workers comp when they get injured, and they can't file for disability when they get injured, just like people are doing that today, and they're justifying it, and people are fighting to make sure that they are not helped to get documentation, because just as a protester could be protesting to protest against ICE, they could be protesting to help people get paperwork. They could be out there with paperwork. They could be out there with lawyers signing up people. But you feel me? You feel me? So Deloach, like, you know what I'm saying? It's misplaced passion. Yes. Yes. They're just benefiting. You know what I mean? They're benefiting on our fear once again. Once again. They got our kids coming out of school, like that, there'll be a time. I don't know if you've ever needed law enforcement before, but you don't appreciate law enforcement until you need law enforcement. And I've needed law enforcement before. Y'all remember that time last year when I ran out of gas? Who came to help me?
Oh, the police.
Law enforcement. Exactly. And they just say, look, man, we got more important things to do. You in the middle of the street. What in the world? You know what I'm saying? They said, get in the car. I'll take you over here to Wawa's, and we're gonna and the other officer will watch your car. You're good. We'll go over here, right here. Don't cry. I was crying. Y'all would have been so embarrassed. Y'all would have been so embarrassed. You'd be like, why is she crying?
I just can't imagine that. I really can't. I mean, I could see you crying over something, but
like
not over gas.
I was sitting here, and the cop came up to the window. I was like, I just started crying.
Yes.
I'm like this. He says, everything okay? And I just melted. I should have told him the rest of my problem. No, everything is not okay. They'd be like, well, what does that have to do with you sitting in the middle of the street? Oh, yes, I need gas. I need gas. But that would have been so funny. I got this to do, and I got to get over there, and I was just like, no, ma'am, like, why are you in the middle of the street? Like, what happened? And look now, but remember when that was when my car was brand new. And then now it makes all these noises to me. And I guess I just did not recognize any of those noises because it was new. Because you were like, I remember y'all asking, like, doesn't it make signals or something? I was driving, the car was like, dung, bong, ding. And I was still driving until it ran out. That's crazy. I didn't recognize that. I know they were probably like, that lady probably got so many signals. And then it'll give me like, ding, 20 miles left. You know what I'm saying? It tells me like, you're in the reserve tank now. Like, da-da-da. I didn't hear any of that. Just going till it was like, but like, what are you doing? It should have made a voice like, what are you doing, mama? You will be crying in a minute. But hey, you live and learn. But yeah, so I'm gonna before y'all leave me, I just wanted to share. Okay, like that we shared a lot, and I appreciate y'all. So Mansa Musa was so rich that he controlled the whole Mali empire. That's basically now West Africa. He had all these reserves of gold and salt. Yeah. And those were key commodities in the 14th century. He taxed all trade passing through his territory, including ivory. Like they take the ivory from the elephants, he taxed it, making him potentially the wealthiest person ever. He leveraged Mali's natural resources and its strategic location, turning cities like Timbuktu into booming trade and learning centers, enriching himself and his empire immensely through taxation and commerce, meaning business. So he had a gold monopoly, salt dominance. These are key things that are strategic trade hub, ivory, and he had a strong, large military. So the large army protected the trade routes and expanded the empire's borders, securing the economic assets. So when anybody thinks like that, like our system protects us from an individual having that type of opportunity now, even though there are a lot of opportunities, that still exist. And were you saying something, Ms. Davis? And a lot of power that's
No,
exploited,
I had a call.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that there are definitely things that are going on now, but it's very important for us to remember when people make money, it's good to ask, how did they make that money? It's good to think about how did it get there? And that has absolutely nothing to do with jealousy. Nothing. Nothing. But what we need to realize is that I know that God wants us to know that to whom much is given, much is required. This is biblical. You're gonna, you know what I'm saying? If you have a lot, it's gonna require a lot of responsibility in order to keep it. If you want a lot, the desires of your heart are exceedingly big, then we're going to have mutual sacrifices in order to do that. But one thing that I've noticed by working with money my entire life, when it is all said and done, it's the priceless stuff. It's the things you can't buy that really end up mattering the most. And that's why he went to Hajj. This man would have been rich and he could have stayed right home. He went to Hajj because he wanted a closer relationship with God. Whatever, in my opinion, we have to do whatever we have to do. And this is what we can get from this. You know what I mean? What really made him rich was his desire to do more and to know God more. That's a beautiful desire. And that, I feel, is a gift that he's left for us. Today, that is the legacy that he left for us. Because I truly believe that. What matters to me most is knowing that something I did will impact you, and then my life gets to live through you. That's everything. Me giving you, gold coins won't do that. But me giving you the blessing of love, and the blessing of knowing how good God is, and the blessing of saying you can have that too. Like that you're worthy. You're worthy. And what really matters is not what we buy. What really matters is what we give. That's what he's remembered for. Those 700 mosques he built. The Egyptians are still talking about him, right? Because he left all that money behind. What he gave. So give me your money. Give me your money. Because y'all don't need that. I love y'all so much. Go have a wonderful day. Mansa Musa. Take care. Love y'all. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye now.
Okay, bye.
Ms. Anderson. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody. I am JB Bryan, President and Chief Investment Officer of JB Bryan Financial Group, a registered investment advisory firm.